Hi friends, welcome back to yet another session on UML diagrams. Now it is time to see what the activity diagram is all about. The activity diagram is a UML diagram that shows the workflow of activities, steps involved in a system or a process. So you can think of it as a flowchart with extra UML power. It shows how actions flow, decisions are made, and processes run in parallel and all that. So this is going to help us in visualizing the flow of activities in a process. So it will have start, end, decisions, fork, and join operations. It can be very easily visualized here. So the key elements in a activity diagram are the start or the initial node. It's a black filled circle which says that this is where our activity begins. And then we have activity or actions. That's a rounded rectangle we have. For example, validate the transaction is one activity or action, so that will be shown with a rounded rectangle. Then decision is shown by a diamond, so which is used for checking the branching with the conditions yes or no. If some condition is written inside the diamond, if the condition is true, yes. If the condition is false, no. Then for true, what to do, for false, what to do. So there is branching we can have, so that's a decision box we have. Then if we want to run some of the activities in parallel, if they don't depend upon one another, that means the output of one action is not input to another action, then these two actions can be independently run, parallelly run. So when you want to run them in parallel, we can use a fork element to have multiple paths. So in each path we can have different activities, so that we can say that the actions are run concurrently, and at the end, when all the concurrent activities are done, then finally we want all the results to be joined together, so we make use of a join there. Then finally we say that that's the end of the activity diagram, which is shown with a circle and a black dot inside that. Then we have swim lanes, that is a partitions to show which actor or system is responsible for which action and all that. So let's look in detail. So why do we think activity diagrams are so much important? What is the use of doing that? So it models the business's processes very clearly. So the business processes are modeled very clearly using the activity diagram. It shows the alternative and parallel flows, and it helps teams to visualize the workflow before actually coding it. So that makes things conceptually more clearer, and hence the next step becomes very easy. So it is great for explaining the logic to a non-technical stakeholder. So when we are trying to explain what process we are taking up, so we'd say we first do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. If we keep talking in technical jargons, then these non-technical stakeholders may not be definitely able to understand what we are trying to convince them. So instead of that, if we have an activity diagram, it makes simple sense to anyone understanding that what actually is being done here. So it becomes quite simple in explaining the logic to the stakeholders. Now the question is how to create an activity diagram. So as discussed in the beginning, the first thing we have to write is use case diagram. So now again we'll continue with the same idea that we have use case diagram, then from use case diagram we try to create the activity diagram. So the first step is select the use case which you are trying to convert into an activity diagram. So pick one use case from the use case diagram that represents a well-defined process. So from the example we were talking about the fraud detection machine learning system, then let us take one use case like detect fraud. Then step 2, break this into steps. So scenario flow. So we are just talking about detect fraud. So for detecting fraud, what are the steps involved in that? So the steps involved are customer initiates a transaction, then system validates the transaction, then system runs a ML model. If the fraud is suspected, then the fraud analyst is alerted, and the fraud analyst reviews the case, and system finally updates the result, and customer is notified about the transaction, whether transaction is completed or not, or if there was fraud, then the message goes to the customer saying that it is not possible, it is stopped and all that. Then the third step is map the steps to the activities. Each step becomes one activity in the diagram. Then final fourth step talks about the odd decisions or parallel flows. So decision node after the fraud detection, if is it fraud or not fraud. Then swim lines for customer, system and fraud and list we draw for them. So the example here is the use case we have one, and the fraud analyst is another actor, and we have a use case called detect fraud, and our system is fraud detection system. So the use case we are working upon is the detect fraud, and in that first user will perform the transaction, then the system will validate the transaction. If fraud is found, yes, then it goes to review case. If fraud is not found, then notify the analyst, select this is the situation, and then finally review the case. Taking another example of online shopping system, so the shopping workflow, if you look at it, browse the menu, select the items, add to the cart, place the order. If order is confirmed, yes, then process for the payment. If order is not confirmed, then cancel the order and close it. If order is confirmed, then process the payment. In if the thing if it payment is successful, then prepare the order, deliver the order and confirm the identity. If the payment has failed, then notify the payment failure and cancel the order, and finally we close this. So that's beginning, and that's the end of it. Take another example, online food delivering system. So here order is received, check the availability. If it is not available, inform back, say that this is not available. So check the order again. If it is available, then we have two things run in parallel. So this is the fork we are talking about. So two things are done in parallel. One side is send the order to the chef. On the other side, you start preparing for the payment. So if the payment is cash, then directly take the cash. If the payment is through the credit card, then we have to do two actions. One is select the pin, other is check the amount due. And if both are true, then it continue with the payment. And then if either cash payment is done or payment is done through credit card, then the authorize the payment, and if the payment is successful, then deliver the order. If the payment is not successful, then back and try some other way. Like they try to use the credit card but could not give proper pin number, then it comes out and returns back saying that pin is incorrect, so try again or something. Or the credit card does not work, then you can get back and say pay through the cash or something. So these are different things. So here we have this green line talks about the fork, and this green line talks about the fork, whereas this one is the join. So the output of this are joined together and made one output. Same way this, there is another join here, there was a fork here, there is a corresponding join here, and so on. So that's the activity diagram. So through this, it's simply like our flow chart, and this gives us more detailed way how the activities uh, are working one after other and all that. So that's it for now. Thank you.